Perfect. Happy Thursday, you guys. Welcome, welcome, welcome to your Thursday virtual lunch and learn. I hope everybody has lunch. Listen, I don't take it personally. When there's a meeting during lunchtime and you have to, you may not be the most beautiful eater. I'm okay with that. I am fine with you guys making sure that you get the information and get your quick snack for today so that you can continue with your workday. So with that being said, today's discussion um, I'm excited about because we are, and you guys have not been following along, we're in a buyer's market. Hey, we're in a buyer's market, guys, and this is an opportunity for you guys to really take advantage of for buyers that are in your uh, database to take advantage of the opportunities that are available to them. Now, with that being said, we're going to have a conversation about how to ensure that you build a high quality buyer database, right? And so we're going to talk today about there's a difference between contact, you know, and or lead versus purchase ready, pre-approved and ready buyers in your database, right? So with that being said, for those who I have not had an opportunity to meet before, a lot of familiar faces. Good to see all of our repeat students. But for those that are new, good afternoon. It is 12 o'clock now. Let's check the clock. My name is Rachel Jackson. I'm a South Florida real estate attorney. A little bit about me personally. I am originally from Miami. I attended the University of Florida for undergrad, went on to Santa Clara University School of Law, where I founded the Real Estate Law Society, came back home, attended University of Miami School of Law, and got my LLM in real property development. That's essentially a specialization degree for attorneys in real property development. I am a proud licensed Florida real estate sales professional and a licensed loan originator for the state of Florida. So with that being said, I am a one-stop shop. And so for that reason, I've had the opportunity to develop the brand Purchase Ready. Purchase Ready is a complete home buying solution, right? It's designed to simplify and streamline every step of the home ownership and sale journey, right? For our customers that we work with under this umbrella. It is a full service ecosystem, right? I tell you guys this every week that the more we can become a one-stop shop for our customers, right? Even if you're not a licensed loan originator, you're not a closing attorney or a closing agent, you can still set up your business so that your service delivery to your customers is seamless, right? And so that's always the goal, and that's always part of the conversation that I'm having with you guys as CEOs of your very own real estate company, right? I'm kind of going into a whole nother thing that I would always coach the realtors on before is that although many of you are what we would call single agents, you're operating a company, right? It's a real estate company, and you are the CEO of your company. And so your company, whether it may be a smaller business or not as large as, let's say, for example, a Starbucks or a Dunkin' Donuts, but I want you guys to look at your offering as a business, right? So what does that mean? If Dunkin' Donuts has a website, where's your website? If Starbucks has a phone number, a business number, what's your business number? If Starbucks has a business email address, what's your email address? If they have operating hours, what are your operating hours? We do not expect you. I do not expect you. You should not expect yourself. And you should not have your customers expect that you're going to operate 24 hours a day. That's just an unsustainable model, right? Now, the hours that you make yourself available should be sufficient to service your customers. I'm going off on a soapbox about my agent CEO content, but as we work together, guys, I want to make sure that you remember that, right? You're a business, okay? So, with that being said, the Academy under Purchase Ready is an effort to coach, teach, and keep you guys accountable for operating a business. And not only operating a business, but operating a full service business so that you become the go to person for your customers, right? And so, under the Academy, this content is intentionally crafted to equip Florida real estate agents. We are specific to Florida. That was intentional. There's topics that we can discuss that are national topics, right? If we just, there's things that we could that we can discuss on a very generic basis, but the content that we curate for you all under Purchase Ready Academy is specific to Florida real estate agents. So it's going to specifically address our market. It's going to specifically address what you guys work with, what you touch and concern every day, your contracts. Our contracts are different, right? Our market is different, right? So why are we taking this one size fit all training when we can go and get something that's tailor made for us in our Florida business? All right. So lastly, the goal truly is to ensure that you all, as real estate professionals, you acquire the skills that are required to consult your clients with clarity, right? There's no confusion around your business. There's no confusion around the services that you offer. To navigate transactions without chaos, that's systems, right? That means here's what you can expect when you work with me. Again, here are my business hours. Here's my business number, right? Here's my business email address. And so the sooner you can put systems in place, the sooner you can go from chaos to calm, right? There's an expectation, right? Your customer has an expectation and you have an expectation of your customer. And then lastly, you grow your business with confidence, right? When you know that you have a clear understanding of your service offering and you know that you provide a 5-star service, you will confidently promote yourself to anyone who's interested in buying or selling real estate in Florida, right? All right. That was my soapbox. Rant over. So, with that being said, today's topic, pre-approved and ready, how to build a high quality buyer database. Now, our agenda today, what we're going to make sure that we hit today is one, why is the pre-approved buyers, why are they game changers? Why I want you guys to not just say, hey, buyers, come to me. No, but the language is either pre-approved or you want to be pre-approved. Right? You guys have heard the term niche before. That's my niche. My niche is pre-approved buyers, those who are already pre-approved or those who are looking to be pre-approved, right? Not those that are tire kickers. There's a place for those folks, but when you're trying to meet a revenue goal, you have no time for people who are not ready to buy. Right? You have no time for people who are not purchase ready. And so you want to make sure that you have a database that you can look at and say, okay, these are quality leads. These are people that are ready to buy, right? An example just came to mind, and I'm sure you guys will relate to this. Batteries. I don't know, but some of you may be more efficient than me. Right? You may have we call it a junk drawer or everything drawer, and it has a bunch of batteries in it. And sometimes we have a remote control and we'll take one of the batteries out, put a good battery in, leave the other battery in there, and then all of a sudden we just have, and you never threw away the other one because you're like, it's not completely dead, but who knows? So now you have this drawer of batteries, and third of them may be completely dead, a third of them are great, and a third of them are halfway dead. Well, if you don't sort that out, you could think you have 100 good batteries, but no, you actually only have 35 very good batteries, 60 at most. That's how I want you guys to look at your contact database. Who is really quality? You have 100 or 700 names and numbers in your CRM, but who's really ready to do business? Who's really ready to get to the closing table? That's how I want you guys to look at your marketing and your database that develops as a result of your marketing. Secondly, the psychology of a motivated buyer. Third, how to attract purchase-ready buyers. Four, lender partnerships that work. You can leverage your relationships, right? Database building and smart follow-up, conversion systems that scale, and then your next steps. We're going to hit all of that in our next 20 minutes together or so. Okay? All right. So, mindset shift. This is the mindset shift that I need you guys to have if you want to be successful and prevent burnout. Leads versus clients. Leads versus clients. Leads do not pay you, closings do. Going back to the example, a database of 700 contacts, you don't get paid for the number of people that are sitting in your database. You get paid for the number of people that land at the closing table and close a transaction. So our goal is to build a database that generates closings, not just contacts, right? Not just contacts. We want closings to come out of these contacts that enter our database. So stop collecting just leads and let them sit there. The next step is to start curating relationships and curating them moving to the next step in your funnel. So what's a high quality buyer? They're pre-approved. 2 weeks ago, we talked about what it takes to be approved for financing, right? Remember, we mentioned IPAC, sufficient income. P stands for property. We won't know the property until we go into contract. But then A stands for assets, cash on hand. Do they have sufficient cash on hand for closing costs? And then credit, IPAC, IPAC, IPAC. Do they have sufficient income? Do they have sufficient assets? Do they have sufficient credit? You don't know that if they're just sitting in your database. That's why the communication in our database is nurturing them to understand that it's important for them to know that, right? Motivated by a timeline. Motivated by a timeline. Are they motivated by a timeline? Are they responsive to your follow-up? When you reach out to them, do they respond to you? Because if they don't, then are they really motivated? When you want something, you respond when someone reaches out to you, right? And then are they aligned with your process? Meaning, if you're saying we need to make sure that you're pre-approved before we go and see properties on Saturday, they're not saying, well, can we go and then deal with the pre-approval after? No, I have a process, right? And so they need to be aligned with your process. Every buyer is not your buyer. We would love for that to be the case, but every buyer is just not your buyer. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's just a misalignment in values, right? If I'm a vegetarian, then Porky's make a bad restaurant. If you like pork, you go. I'm a vegetarian though, right? So similarly, if you have a buyer that just does not want to align with your process to provide them with a streamlined and chaos-free, calm buying process, then that's just not your buyer, right? The psychology of a motivated buyer, they have a clear goal, right? When are you looking to purchase? I need to purchase within the next 3 to 6 months. My lease is up in 6 months. I would like to have something in place in 3 months, or we're needed to move into the area within 3 months. So I need to have a place within 2 months. They have a clear goal. They have personal urgency. They have a life or financial event, right? What does that mean? That means, we're having a baby. Kids are moving away to college. There may be a separation or divorce, right? Again, a birth in the family. So they have a clear why, right? They have a clear why. Emotional readiness, already mentally purchased, meaning, say, for example, if they're renting, they've already placed themselves mentally in a home, right? If they're moving into the area, they've already placed themselves in the area, right? And then they have decision support, meaning a spouse or family member, professional advisor is supporting them in this purchase, right? It's supporting their decision to purchase. Now, some may think like there's a lot that goes on in there. If you guys know you're gonna wear a lot of hats in your capacity as a real estate professional. Most people who are purchasing and selling, they're selling. This is because of a life event. The life event could be positive. The life event could be neutral. The life event could be potentially negative in the moment. But you have to know where they are and their motivations again so that you can guide them. Right? All right. So the old way versus the new way. The old way versus the new way. The old way versus the new way. And I say this because if you guys have ever heard the term before, pattern interrupt, I want to pattern interrupt you if you have kind of just jumped into the business and been doing business or marketing or prospecting or curating your clients in an old way. And the reason why there's the old way versus the new way, because we just have different resources. There's different amounts of information that's available. And so the way that we did business, even last year, guys, even 6 months ago, is different than we do it today. And with the advent of AI, this is the information age. This is the information age. So what does that mean? A diligent prospect can find generally any information that they can find it themselves if they took the time to do it. Now, of course, most of them don't want to do that because they don't have time for it. And then secondly, even if they acquire that information, they don't have the skill to filter it to a decision or a resolve that you can because you're the professional, right? So what do I mean by that? Okay. Sure, you can go on Zillow and we always talk about Zillow. Sure, you can go on Zillow and find 10 homes for sale and you can see how much they're selling for. But how do you know that the value is on target? Again, they have the ability to access information, but they don't necessarily have the ability to curate the information in a manner that helps them take action immediately. Here's the other side. The information is available, but they don't take advantage of it. They don't even know that it's there. They just don't have the time, right? They don't have the time. And so we're going to hit a couple ways where there's an old way of prospecting and curating business, and then there's a new way. So the old way is cold internet leads. You just take cold internet leads and they call you and they run you down the road, right? You take the lead. You don't qualify them at all. You don't find out if they have a clear path, right? You don't find out whether who's involved in their decision making. You don't find out their why. What's their life event? What's causing them to want to do this at this point? Because all of that matters, right? Because you're an advisor. Versus a sphere or referral. You guys have a lot of people that that you can easily that you can easily tap into for referrals, right? People that are closer to knowing, liking, and trusting you because they know, like, and trust the person that referred you, right? Or even your sphere. They know, like, and trust your sphere. They know, like, and trust your mom, your dad, your sister, your brother, your cousin. So it's going to be a better engagement opportunity, right? So you want to tap into your sphere, right? Now, another old way of doing business, generic drip campaigns. If you're not sending anything, it's great to send something, right? By show of hands in the chat, how many? Give me a one in the chat if you have a CRM. If you're sending out, if you have a drip campaign, you have a CRM, and you're currently sending out emails. Perfect. Perfect. Two people. All right, Aurelia. No judgment zone. If you don't have a CRM and you're regularly sending out emails, give me a 2 in the chat. No judgment zone. If you're like, I know I need to do it. I need help. I need conversation. I need support around it. I just haven't gotten to it. So we got some yeses. Okay. We have no no's in the chat. That means everybody is good. Everybody has a CRM. Perfect. Speak now, forever hold your peace. All right. Signing up with Lofty now. Perfect. Perfect. Exactly. So you're getting it going. So with that being said, the generic spring buying season, all of that, here's a checklist to clean your home. That's decent. At least you're getting in front of them. That's not gonna move them. You want to speak to a sense of urgency. You want to speak to, for now, right now, saying we're in a buyer's market, because we are truly in a buyer's market. And so for those of you, for those potential buyers that are in your database, if they see that, they're like, what? For so long, they've been hearing it's a seller's market, and good luck, buyers. You're going to have to bid on 10,000 different properties. I saw a social media post. Again, you can't just take everything that you see, but I saw it yesterday, and I've seen it on some different communications. Believe it or not, we have 3 markets in Florida that are the least competitive. Miami being number one. Shocking. You know what that means? That means there is no line, no wait to negotiate a deal. No line, no wait. The second they showed was not second in the list, but another they showed was Tampa. They showed Orlando. No line, no wait. Would you think your buyers want to know that? Let's include that in the communication. The old way is you have, again, we talked about earlier, you have a bunch of buyers in your pipeline that have no financing plan. They don't know whether they have sufficient income. They don't know whether or not they have sufficient assets. They don't know whether or not they have sufficient credit versus a verified financing up front. And again, I want to let you guys know this is very simple. This is a very simple pivot. It's a very simple pivot. The pivot is in your messaging. The pivot is in your follow-up. And the pivot is in your nudging them to get pre-approved by understanding the value of pre-approval. Right? Right. The old way, burnout chasing unmotivated buyers. Again, they don't have a clear plan. They don't have a reason to sell. They have no support. They're not pre-approved. Like but you don't know that because you haven't run them through your funnel, through your process. Is having a funnel, a database of buyers that are pre-positioned to act. Right. So shifting. What is the messaging? What is the messaging that we need to have? Your marketing must speak directly to the pre-approved buyer's mindset. Last 2 weeks ago, we talked about marketing the money. And in that time, I don't see her on today, but one of your colleagues had a buyer reach out who said, I did not know. She's an entrepreneur, over 740 credit score, no debt. Debt is a very small car loan and has regular income. She said, I didn't know until she reached out and told me that you guys have, that I could qualify for a loan under these with being an entrepreneur, self-employed entrepreneur. But that's because your colleague's messaging changed. I told you guys 2 weeks ago to market the money. So she went out and she started telling you, here are loan options. You don't have to have perfect credit. Well, come to find out, her buyer has perfect credit. Once you hit 720, it's really, the rate won't change, right? You hit the number, right? Debt, I've not seen someone with that low debt in a very long time. Guys, under $400 a month. That is ridiculously low, right? And again, regular income. All because her messaging changed. And so and she has a timeline. She wants to purchase, be closed within the next 90 days. All because your colleague's messaging changed. Super excited. Attracting the right buyer. You don't need more traffic. You need better filters. Again, you don't need everyone to be on your list, but at the very least, come one, come all. But when you come, expect to engage in my process. I work with buyers already pre-approved. Ready to purchase? I work with buyers already pre-approved. Let me get you pre-approved, right? So you want to attract the right. You're right, but guess what? It benefits for you is that you can run them through your funnel, right? Get them there. So I'm not gonna say the name because we're recording, but for that Hansel, take them, scrub them, clean them up, right? Some people don't know; they just don't know. So that's where you become a guide and an educator. Okay. All right. So post success stories. You want to post the process, not just the outcome. So going back to my example, once your colleague closed this buyer, we don't want to just say congratulations on closing. We want to say this is you say self-employed borrower. We'll clean it up, but she didn't know. She didn't know that there are loan programs. There's a loan for every home. I gave you guys that line 2 weeks ago. A loan for every home. There's a loan for every home. She had no idea that there was a loan product that would support her purchasing goals. But she reached out. She got pre-approved within 24 hours, and here we are today. So that was the process. Someone else is going to read that and say, I'm self-employed. I didn't realize I could get pre-approved in 24 hours and close in less than 90 days. Hello, me. Sign me up, right? Nurture with education. Guys, this is the silver bullet. Webinars, workshop, micro content. What's micro content? Micro content can be your social media posts, can be text messages, can be your emails that you send out. But you want to nurture with education. That is the separator. Education moves people. Again, she didn't know. It's a very simple statement. Oh, you're self-employed? There's a loan for that. Do you guys remember the conversation? They used to say there's an app for that, loan for that. Guys, I said 2 weeks ago, lenders they don't make money unless they lend. So they're figuring out ways to lend, right? So you want to nurture with education. Now, leverage lender partnerships. What does that mean? You want to co-create your conversion system. Of course, you're going to co-host workshops and webinars. Of course, you're going to utilize co-branded education material. Of course, you're going to, you can have a co-branded application link, but then also, are you partnering with the lender who's going to support you in following up, right? Are you working with a lender that is going to support you in saying, listen, send me, like Hansel said, send me your database. I'll scrub them. Let me show you how to do this. Okay, right? Send me your database. I'm gonna drop them in my funnel, and they're gonna start getting calls, emails, and text messages about getting pre-approved. And I'll be able to show you who's serious, who you should really focus on. Because I think you have 700 contacts in your database, but really 70. These 70 have gone through the process, right? Let's just think about it. If you want something, you're gonna do it. You don't really want it. If they cannot complete an application, again, which is not terrible, but you have to think about what's on the other side of that. You're asking someone to lend you 300,000, 400,000, 500, 600, 7, 8, $900,000. You don't think they want to vet you to make sure that they're going to be repaid, right? So if they look at it that way, understand this is just a process for them to confirm that you are a good candidate for them to lend you 300, 400, 5, 6, 7, 8, $900,000. All right. Oh, and by the way, you do this once and you never have to do it again until you purchase your investment property, right? Because we don't want them to be one and done. Real estate builds wealth, right? Um, exactly. So building a database that works. Of course, here's some of the information that you need to have. You got to have a tool. If you don't have a CRM, start with a Google Sheet, start with Notion, start with Asana, start with something that you can build a database. You've probably seen folks on social media talking about building your email list. That's just your database. You gotta be able to drop into a pool, a bucket, and quickly pull out business. If I were to say to you, Hansel, show me 10 buyers right now. Show me 10 pre-approved buyers who are ready to buy. You want to be able to say, here they are. Additionally, reverse engineer. I told you guys this before as well. Here's why this strategy works if you like sellers. Well, sellers want buyers. Like, what are we talking about? Why are we all running for buyers? Sellers want buyers. And so if I show up to Mr. Seller's kitchen table saying, well, I have a database of 50 pre-approved buyers, they're ready. All we need is to go into contract, get an appraisal, title clear, we can close in 2 weeks. You look like a rock star because you've done the work, right? So what does that database look like? Buyer's name, of course, loan type and approval status. What type of loan are we looking for? Are they VA? Are they going to be, are they self-employed? So we're looking at bank statement loans, right? What's their timeline to buy? What's their area of interest? What's their motivation level, right? Want to buy versus need to buy, right? And then follow up. You can see the last time you followed up, right? Follow up the smart way. No more just checking in. Instead, market updates, rate drops, listing matches, education bites, personalized video follow up. Again, market updates. We're in the buyer's market. Rates have dropped. Here's a listing that matches what you're interested in. Education bites. Here's a loan product. Right? Here's a if it's a buyer that needs some assistance with their cash to close. Here's a down payment assistance program that's recently come out. And then, of course, personalized video follow ups. If you can use BombBomb or any other platform, you can even just record a video on your phone and shoot it out, right? As a text message. Hey, just checking in. Just want to make sure that you're aware. We're in the buyer's market. We're in the buyer's market. Let's make a move, right? So here's other thing I want to point out. Because someone's saying, you're saying we're in the buyer's market because they're inventory, but I also heard that I know that the interest rates are not as there's an affordability issue because of the interest rates. Well, guess what? A low interest rate is very important when prices are high. If the purchase price is lower, then the interest rate is less as important, right? This is where you balance out. You get a decent interest rate, decently priced property, so that your buyer can afford the monthly payment. So why is this a good market? That even though the interest rates are arguably a little elevated, 5 is average, 3, 2, you're missing again, never. Because the price will come down, despite the fact that the property is listed at a number. These sellers, if they want to sell, they're either going to have to bring the price down, or they're going to give a credit. If you give a credit, now you can do so many different things with the seller. You can buy down the rate. You can reduce their closing costs. And then, of course, purchase price goes down, loan amount goes down. Now our affordability meets in the middle. This is all strategy. This is all strategy. So just get your buyers engaged, get pre-approved. Let me figure out. You tell them, let me find the property. That's what I do. Let my lender get you do what you need to do to get pre-approved. Let my lender pre-approve you. Let me find the property. Let me negotiate on your behalf. We'll land at the table. All right. Automation. Follow up with without losing your voice. What does that mean? Make sure you have automation. Just make sure you have automation that can send out emails to your database regularly. Of course, you want to have a cadence where you call, right? And who are we calling? We're calling the 70, not the 700. We're calling at some point you need to touch them, but the close, the very frequent follow-up is of course going to be with the people that you know already. Here's another example for you. If given just an hour to hit that database of 700, who are you calling? You're calling the ones that you know are pre-approved. Again, this is why we just have to filter out that database and know where we are. Cassandra mentioned Lofty. You just want to make sure you use a CRM that has an automated follow-up sequence. Email and text, if they can send text, that would be great. And then smart tags for your buyer. I think I saw someone drop in the chat about tagging your buyers based upon different categories. If they're already pre-approved, if they're VA, right? So you want to tag as well. Metrics that matter. What gets measured gets multiplied. You want to track. Now we're talking numbers. How many leads do you need? This goes into your business planning. Hopefully everyone has a business plan where they have, you have a revenue goal, right? And that revenue goal is based on the expenses that you have to operate your business, along with the income that you need to hit. So income plus expenses equals your revenue goal. If you have $20,000 in expenses to run your business, you know that you want an annual income of $150,000, then your real estate business revenue needs to be a minimum of $170,000, right? We know we need that. Then you should probably know your average commission, right? What's your average commission? Net, net, right? So if you're with a brokerage that has a split, what's your net, not your gross? And then and so with that being said, how many transactions do I need to close each month, each year to hit that 170, right? Then you need to know your conversions. So I know this is where you see a funnel. If you guys ever been in my business planning coaching before, every lead is not going to follow through with your consultation. Every consultation is not going to convert to an engaged buyer or seller. And every engaged buyer and seller is not necessarily going to go into contract, right? This is showing you your funnel gets smaller and smaller. Every buyer that goes under contract is not going to close for one reason or another. Now, of course, your percentages get higher and higher, but you just don't have a 100% rate. There's listings that expire, buyers that just can't get it together, or they change their mind. But the point in this slide is to understand that you need to know your numbers and track your numbers. I have a $170,000 revenue goal. I know I need to close 25 deals per year, 24 deals per year. That means that's 2 closings per month. I know that on average, 10% of my leads convert, right? And that's a high number. If 10% of your leads convert to closings, that means you need what? 20 quality leads per month. And we already know that you likely not going to close in the same month, right? So now we have a lag. I should have got a good 20 last month or the month before to make sure that I'm closing within 60 to 90 days. Does that make sense? We started marketing, now we're talking business. This is where that lead funnel, right? This is where they tell you, don't get so caught up you go under contract. You get so caught up on that deal that's under contract this month and you forgot to bring in a business. You forgot to bring in more leads. So now when you get to the next month, oh Jesus, we start all over again, right?
So if you get 20 quality leads, how many do you think are going to be closing?
That's a good question. So it depends on you knowing the data of your leads. So going back to what we talked about, what's their motivation? When we say quality, are they pre-approved? What's their timing? That's the first thing there. If that buyer has said, I need to close to be in 60 days. I need to close in 30 days. You get what I'm saying? Versus, they could be a quality lead, but their time period is 6 months. My lease isn't up for 6 months, and we're not moving to South Florida for 7 months. Does that make sense?
Yes.
You guys see now how you're looking at your pipeline different, right? You're not just, I got 700 names and numbers to call. I'm like, no, maybe, right? But we're scrubbing this database to get us to where we can forecast what our business really looks like, right? All right. So your 7-day action plan. I'm glad that question was asked. And I'm very glad that question was asked because it shows that you guys are seeing where you need to be as a result of this conversation today. First thing, if you do not have a CRM, you need to set up your CRM, right? If you do have a CRM, you need to look at how do I organize these buyers into these seven buckets, right? Right? Who needs a consultation? Who needs a buyer consultation? Right? And then for those that you consulted with, how many of them have signed your buyer brokerage agreement? You see how all this kind of starts tying it together? You're like, Rico, you're blowing my mind. Systems. Remember, when we meet with them, we're meeting with them for them to sign our buyer's brokerage agreement. Scroll back to 2 months ago, when we had the conversation about how to review the buyer's brokerage agreement, right? And then next, we have the buyer's brokerage agreement. Who went ahead and got pre-approved, right? And then from there, those that are pre-approved, who is, of course, you know who's on top. You know, that's what you focus on clearly. And then close buyers. So that's how you need to go back now and look at your database. Who's the buyer? Who's the seller? For the purpose of our conversation today, the buyers have already had a consultation. Any potential buyer that's in your database, you need to get them into consultation. You need to get them into consultation. You need to get them into buyer's brokerage agreement. And I would say to you, even if they're not ready to buy immediately, like in the next 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, still get them on a 12-month buyer's brokerage agreement, right? You've done the work. The next step is you're going to get them like we did with your colleague. We got her pre-approved, and we're pushing her buyer to get that pre-approval completed so that she can be in your colleague's pipeline as a pre-approved buyer that just needs to go on the contract. All right. Um, Again, you need to have an email sequence that nurtures movement. Save your dedicated loan application link. So we have a dedicated loan application link for for the realtor community, and this is going to be shared with you guys via email, and then we'll also put it in Skool for those who are like, "What is Skool?" You'll see the slide shortly. And then lastly, you want to develop a curated marketing message. All right. All right. So this is an example of a co-branded loan application checklist. You're going to have access to this in Skool. I see in the chat that there was some, I guess, issues with the handout. You know, we always have a handout for you guys, but you'll get it in the email, and it'll also be in Skool within 24 hours. That handout has for you an example of this loan application checklist. Now, this loan application checklist has my photo at the top and bottom. As an example, but the top photo would be you as a realtor. You guys know that I am duly licensed as a realtor and a loan officer, so I just use two different photos of myself. The top would be your photo, your contact information. Bottom is my contact information. Again, that we support you guys in getting your buyers pre-approved, and then you have here this checklist. Again, most people don't know what to expect. If you tell them what to expect when they go to make a loan application, here we are. So we're trying to reduce friction. So this will be available to you with the handout as an example, as well as there will be a link in Skool tomorrow for you to provide your information. That's going to be your headshot, your of course your name, your email address, your phone number, so that we will go ahead and the marketing team will go ahead and finalize this template for you so that you can start sharing it out. All right. So next step, many of you can drop in the chat. For those of you who are not already, do not already have access to the Purchase Ready Academy, Minnie's going to drop in the chat. If you're on a PC, you can scan that QR code so that you can join Skool. Skool is a platform that allows us to curate a community. It's similar to what we say Facebook group, but better because it allows us to save the recordings from our previous trainings. It allows us to include to save the handouts there. It also allows us to communicate, ask questions in that community. So for those of you who are not already members of, you don't already have access to the Skool platform, check that link in the chat. There's a QR code there on the screen. And this recording, again, the handout, access to the link to get your own branded loan application checklist will be there. Any other questions? Let's open it up. Feel free to drop your questions in the chat or raise your hand so you can unmute. Unmute is always the most efficient, right? Any questions? All right. I gave y'all a lot of homework, huh? All right. So there's no questions. See you guys in Skool again by tomorrow. Check out this recording. Listen to it again. Listen to it again for implementation. I gave you guys a lot of information. It's a simple concept, but it was a lot of information. And it's a new way of doing business for a lot of you. So go back and listen to it. You're welcome, Gina. Good to see you again. Ariella, good to see you. Oh, you're welcome, Cassandra. Go back and listen to this. Implement it. If you have any questions, feel free to email us or drop a question in the chat in Skool. All right. All right, guys. Have a wonderful. Hey, Anne-Marie, good to see you. Have a great day. Hey, Chandra. From what? Fort Lauderdale, right? You tell me every week. Nadine. All right, bitch. Exactly. I remember. All right, David, you're welcome. I will see you guys in the community. See you in Skool. All right. Bye.